Hey everyone. Well, today is open lines, and I hope you join me today. Welcome to the UFO live stream. I know it's been a while, but I'm hoping to kind of get back into a schedule again, and most likely have open lines every Wednesday. For those who have been watching for a long time, and for those who are new, you can still join Telegram, which is how I would. Sorry, I'm having some. There you go. Had to silence some things. That's how you would be able to talk to me today over the open lines, because I'm using Telegram, and in there, once you join, you can basically raise your hand, and that way I know you want to say something or want to share your story. Today I have a topic in mind that I would like to start out with, which is Akashic record. But what I don't often hear is this a different understanding that I've heard a long time ago, and then through my own experiences saw and understood in this different way. And I will lay it out to you what that is. And but it's been kind of popping up different places wherever I go. It was just usually I don't usually get that many repetitions, but it was always something, Akashic records or video would pop up or somebody else would say it. So I thought, all right, maybe that's just a little push, a little, I guess, a way to get me to start talking about this topic and maybe share some relevant things about it. And so before we start, I just want to say hi to everyone that has joined, labeled, welcome. Blue Jean Natalie. I'm sorry. I used to know all these names very well, and because you guys would constantly watch, but now it's been so long, I apologize. I'm a bit rusty. But Andrew, welcome. Renee, welcome as well. And so I have the Telegram running right now, and you can also listen. I would not recommend watch the video and watch and listening to Telegram, because there's about 19-20 second delay. So what I'm doing or saying on the video might be coming a bit delayed over Telegram. So either listen only or watch, whichever you prefer. But if you would like to talk to me, it would be best to just be on Telegram and just be ready for whenever I open up for open lines for you to join in. Just basically be ready and be on Telegram, and not necessarily have the video confuse you. So what I would like to, I guess, start out with this topic, and you can comment on this if and when somebody would like to join in and comment on it, or share something else. But so the Akashic record, it's been something that's been around for quite a long time. It's not something new. The New Age community talks about it often, and it's basically supposed to be this hall of records that basically everything that has ever happened, is happening or will happen, is recorded, and it's available for anyone that can still their mind enough to be able to connect to that. And what I wanted to cover regarding that is that, and by the way, Edgar Casey, one of the more better known mediums, is something that he used very much to kind of get into this trance, access the Akashic records, and then give the information that whatever happened to come through. So, sorry, I'm still getting over a little cold. What I wanted to say about this is that a while back, many years ago, I've heard Bashar say this once. It really blew my mind. But then about 2 years later, when I had some of you that followed for a long time, that knew my experiences, when I had my near-death experience, I got to see it and experience it for myself, besides just hearing him say this about the Akashic records, which is this: we exist in a living universe, and we are basically expressions of it. Each one of us, we live in it. We by doing what we do is how the universe expresses itself. And it's a bit difficult for us to understand this, but it's basically what makes up all of existence. All these different parts of it doing these different things that then basically have these experiences that they call their lives, and they gain certain information from that, and then they act on those individually. And it's that complexity that makes all of existence very interesting. Having that free choice to act upon whatever information you're given, and then choose which way you want to go, what you want to do. And so throughout the whole of the universe has basically an infinite versions of itself within it. And that means there's infinite people, each one of you watching this, whether you're watching this live or watching this later, you basically are one copy of an infinite amount of copies that are either doing the exact same thing or slightly off things. Like maybe the cup is sitting this way in another universe. In another universe, there's no cup, and it's so difficult for us to understand this, but it's the way creation, the universe, the way it made itself is that it went in every direction, created every possibility that will ever be, that will ever exist, which is infinity. And that's difficult to understand. Like, how do you create something infinite? But the point here is that most of us always think of the records, or as from whatever we've learned online or from what other people have told us, is that it's a place somewhere where through meditation or other means that we can go there with our minds or out-of-body experiences to experience this library and gain information or gather information about whatever it is that we wish to know. The universe doesn't exactly do the same things like we do, where we need a storage room, where we need buildings or hard drives or flash drives to store a piece of information that we can access for later. Understanding the concept that everything already exists right here, right now, in one single moment. It's basically like every single frame, every single picture exists at one place at one time. When we're talking about accessing something, our minds have actually changed enough to where we can understand this concept to get outside of this library or a storage place and understand that when we get into this trance, we are actually accessing that piece of information that is happening right now in real time. So it's not a specific place that was stored, but let's say you manage to learn how to traverse an outer body and access certain pieces of information. And let's say you want to see your birth. That birth, you being born, is happening also right now. You being a 5-year-old is also happening right now. So when we're really talking about accessing that information, in essence, we're not talking about a specific place, but we're basically going to that dimension, that universe, where that piece of information that you are looking for, because you are part of it, and without much effort, simply through thought, are drawn to it to find out exactly whatever it is that you want to see, whether it's an event, whether it's something about yourself, whether it's just another piece of information, whatever it may be. But in my experience, it's not a place. It's actually what's happening every single moment. And so for those that who have not listened to me for a long time, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I want to cover this part. So the focus mechanism for existence is your consciousness. So you are focusing on this moment right now, at this time and space, and you basically are just living it. You're gathering from it whatever you need to gather. And so there's these different universes that are pretty much existing within the same, I guess it's now moment. You have to try to think about it in a way, if I may use an analogy, like a TV. You can have all these channels, however many channels you get on your TV, they're all happening right now. They're all broadcasting at the same time. But which channel you switch to in this particular moment is what you're focusing on and what you will get information-wise. And so it's the same thing with all of existence. you're focused in this body, in this place, and you basically are getting from it whatever you focused on. If you can manage to over, whether you need practice, whether you need other people to guide you, or however you get to this point to where you can just let go and withdraw from this focus point and focus onto something different, you will see that all you're doing is just accessing an event that is actually occurring simultaneously. And so basically, in a nutshell, through my experience, first initially when I heard it from Bashar, and when I had my own experience and saw how this whole of universe kind of exists, it blew my mind. And so whether you're ready to hear this, whether you think I'm full of shit, I don't know what to tell you. All I know is that that's what I experienced, and that's what I wanted to convey to you today about, specifically about Akashic Records. And so let you do with that as you may, because it's, whether you have strong feelings about it, whether you agree with what I just said, honestly, it's not necessarily going to change my mind because I've experienced it, but I'm hoping that this in some way or another will help you. If you are interested to kind of approach this spiritual realm and pursue it and learn more about it, I'm hoping that with this different understanding, you'll be able to get there quicker and basically get whatever information you are seeking. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say regarding this. And so there's still nobody in the open lines, and so I basically would like to open up for those that would like to join and talk to me and maybe give me your counterpoint, or maybe comment on what I said, or just talk about whatever it is that you would like regarding any kind of experiences you've had, ghosts, aliens, cryptid experiences, you name it. So let me go back a little bit and see what everyone else has said. Bradley, hey Bradley, how are you? Star Brother, how you doing? Roll the losing dice. Hello, welcome. Have you? Star Brother says, have you seen Another Earth with Brit Marlin, a copy of Other Earths? No, I have not. I don't know if this is a show or what you're exactly referring to. Ekantar says, Ekantar, a form of Surat Shadba Yoga, teaches to keep the lower bodies intact, physical, astral, mental, casual, and travel only in the soul body to travel, such as read Akashic Records. Thank you for sharing that. Paul, hey Paul, how are you? Paul says, years ago I went onto parents' deck at night and looked up, saw a large ring pattern of lights, very low, move overhead. My mind went, OMG, it's UFO, amazed. In 15 seconds realized, in 15-second reality proved it to be a blimp. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still kind of getting used to having to read out loud and all kinds of things. So please bear with me, whether you're watching or listening. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. Ekantar says, is there a link to Telegram on your channel? Yes, in the description below this video, there's a link where you can find this channel, but I believe you have to be on a computer that has microphone available, or on the phone to be able to install it and then chat with me directly. Star Brother, it's a sci-fi movie. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I know I left you all behind for quite some time, and thank you for spending your evening with me. I know it's been a while. I did about 2 weeks ago, I did a video on what I was doing, what else has been happening in my life. So instead of me repeating myself now, I hope you take the time to just check it out. I pre-recorded it and just laid it all out. I mean, you deserve that much to know what's been happening. I was hoping not to be out for that long, but now when I think about it, it's been Boy, it's been close to 8 months, I think. But yeah, and yeah, we had just on my own personal story, I shared something regarding my son, um, our middle son, middle son. I have a 1 year old, 5 year old, and 15-year-old. So the 5 year old has been having some very interesting experiences, to say the least. And one, I didn't share that in the pre-recorded video, but it was something that startled me, not in a bad way. My wife kind of saw it too. Not she didn't see it. She saw me reacting to it in this very maybe defensive way. I don't know what she exactly saw on my face, but so my son has been having these different experiences, and I shared this in the previous video regarding this book that we have given him, and he's just been just having all kinds of experiences and things that he just can't stop talking about it. And so during that last experience that I've shared in the previous video, he came over to the living room from his bedroom because he was not a he was upset, but not for the reason that you think, because we had taken the book away from him, because he was having these night terrors and constantly having these experiences that he would tell us about these beings and people. He calls them, talking to him about how to build spaceships and all kinds of stuff. And so he was kind of upset that we didn't give him the book back. And so because he really, like, it was such this yearning that he wanted. Well, anyway, he came from his bedroom and he came around and lay down on the couch. So the couch is here. Our two chairs, my wife's and I, is kind of in a L-shaped form, adjacent to it. And so when he laid down, I'm watching that TV and I can see in the corner of my eyes something like very like almost like my bald head, but it was very like a dampened white grayish, and it was just protruding slightly above the couch. And I saw it, and the second I turned to look, I could see it. It's really amazing how this happens all the time. They're moving at the same time. It was literally like blinking an eye. And in that same instant, I got up and literally took 2 steps to look right behind that couch, and there was nothing there. And so it's based on what he was sharing and all these other things. I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of those beings that he was interacting with. It's nothing new to us. I mean, our life has always been crazy, always in these really just crazy things happening that we just take for granted, and it's become our normal. We talk to friends and people about it all the time, like most people talk about football or baseball scores. It's just that prevalent in our lives. But something that I was thinking about was my experience that I was having previously. It was these different beings have such a high vibration that it was very difficult physically to be close to them. Without getting into that detail, that's what was startled my mind. And I was like, was it possible for that, whatever that was, to be that close, and me not picking up the energies the same way that I did a long time ago? Not saying that maybe something about me might have changed, maybe my perception, might have changed, but whether or not that was the case, you still cannot escape that physical sensation. So it made me wonder if this is something like maybe in hybrid or some sorts, or something different that now is more closer to our vibrational level, to where if it can be within our presence, it's not going to alarm us like it alarmed me many years ago when I was sharing my experiences with all of you. And so sorry, I'm looking at Telegram. So those listening on Telegram, if you'd like to speak to me, just raise your hand, or click to raise your hand, so this way I know you would like to speak to me. Otherwise, just welcome to listen over Telegram as well. So you don't have to talk, but just wanted to put that out there for those that are new. And so anyway, my son has been really having a great time with this, because a lot of times he'll see something, and then he'll start talking to me about it, and I would ask him questions, and he'd be kind of doing this, being shy. And then I would ask him, so what happens? And he's like, well, we play, and all these other things. And so just talks to me about it, but not in this great detail because as a 5-year-old, his vocabulary is very limited. So I'm wanting to see maybe as the years go on to see exactly, maybe to hear more details from, his older mindset and maybe using different words, explaining things to me more, just to truly understand what was happening, what was going on in his life at this time. Because like with every kid, whether they're just speaking normal language about wanting food or whether they're just trying to share a story of whatever happened in school, it's still very limited, very simplistic. So anyway, let me get back to chat here. Some of these usernames are very colorful, so I can't really pronounce them. I'm sorry if I'm butchering them. Gertek LDY, welcome. Just wanted to say hello. And okay, I guess that's all the people that I can see that are new. So anyway, Paulie just raised his hand, so I'm glad he wants to talk to me. Let me unmute you. Hey, Paulie, can you hear me? You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you just fine. How are you?
Oh, I'm well. I have a question about you, or about you, what you mentioned when you were talking about energies and feeling the presence. Was that something that was just physical, or you could actually see it or see something around you?
Well, so the only thing that was able to see were those two orbs that told the story quite some time ago, and then as they got closer, that energy was ramping up. But generally, when I was basically having my experiences and I was so hardcore and wanting to have a physical experience, and every time they tried to get through or come through, there would be this physical experience of it would feel like it's like a buzz. It's a feeling that just overcomes your whole body. That's almost like you touched a electrical outlet. And the more and more they were trying to come through and to finally kind of made themselves known and be in the presence, it would be so high that I would just borderline have a psychotic breakdown. And so they would then back off and stop. And so I was trying that several times, and that's when I just understood, and they explained to me more and more that this is what happens if they've tried to come through fully. So they always recommend contact is easier to meet while we're asleep, using our oversoul to talk to them and make whatever agreements, conversations. It's a lot easier that way, and not to dismiss them as just dreams, because we think that only because we close our eyes and images appear that it's only dreams and they don't mean anything. Maybe some psychoanalyst can give you the deeper meaning and understanding of that, but that's not always the case.
So when you say they told you how to make contact, they did it through dreams?
Well, it was through out of body experience. At one point, it was literally channeling, and at another instant, it would be just a vibration that would come through. It would be real strong, but then it translates into words that then has a meaning, and then it would just be like. It would be silly to kind of describe it. It's almost like touching the power, and it will just power outlet and letting the information come through, and then I would let go, take a breath, and then that vibration would translate into a thought that I would then understood as a sentence, and that basically understood as an explanation. Does that make sense?
It does. Something's trying to get my attention.
It's basically, yeah, because there's these different. Because it's really weird how information can be conveyed in so many different ways, because we only are used to auditory or visual by looking at symbols, translating them into meanings, which we do it all the time. We call it the alphabet and reading words, but in essence, when you really think about it, it's a symbol that has a meaning, that has another meaning, and the more you read it, you unravel it. Well, In this form, it's very different. It was more like just a vibration, and then when it's gone, there's a sentence, there's a thought, and then the whole idea left behind, which was really weird because we're only used to throwing sounds at each other, talking, saying things, whatever we mean. And so it took a while to get used to that. But once I did, more and more information just, starts flowing in. I just had to kind of relax and not fear it. Because, I mean, it can ramp up sometimes in this weird way to where this ego that controls your body, it thinks it's a physical threat. So it starts kicking into fear. And so and then it wants to stop doing that. It doesn't want to be there, but you have to kind of force it to almost like also appease the ego and say, it's okay. Just I promise you will not be hurt. Just go with this. Let me see how far we can push this. I will not go to the extent to where you're damaged in some way, And so once that happens, once that agreement happens, and I'm not talking about physically or literally talking, I'm talking about just feeling your body and just through emotions, through just these feelings, letting you know that it's going to be okay. I'm just whatever I just said to you, I just verbalized of what I tried to convey to myself, almost emotionally.
Yeah. Maybe I should try what you were suggesting. Something's trying to get my attention. It has been for a while. My body's pretty sensitive,
Right,
when things are near, and then it's usually followed by some knocking on the windows kind of sounds like popping. And
right.
I thought it was my imagination, but yeah, I just don't get it's got to the point where I can't figure it out. So I'm like, just I'm going to bed. Just let it go, and then it'll stop. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
if you take the time, if you just let it happen bit by bit, and just intuitively try to just try to listen to whatever is telling you, whatever it is, however it is telling it to you, whether it's a nudge to do something, or a feeling that you like, why am I thinking about this? Just personally, and I can't get everyone to kind of have the same mindset. Just don't be afraid, because I was initially so afraid, and it was basically the block, that if I just let it go earlier, let it go sooner, I could have been where at that point where I've been a couple of years ago. But it took like 2 years for me to just really learn how to let go, to just not freak out. Because sometimes these emotions or feelings, whenever they're around or they're trying to talk to you, they sometimes translate into anxiety. Anxiety, and it's kind of like this, something is happening and I don't know why, but you have to really learn to trust yourself and discern, are you having a reaction that because you like depressed, that needs a different kind of attention, or is this anxiety really caused, by something else? There was a perfect example. It was a few years back, and my wife still remembers it very well. I was about to walk out the door, and as I was turning to her, I was getting this paranoia and anxiety that something was happening, and I couldn't understand exactly what. Why am I feeling that way? Like there's some kind of danger present, but everything that I was looking at, it would not. There was nothing to fear, so I couldn't figure it out why this was happening. And I was apparently looking at it in some way that it was absolutely strange and the weirdest thing ever. So I just said, I gotta go. And I walked out and proceeded to go wherever I needed to. I don't know if it was running some quick errands or what, but this was close towards the evening, and maybe 8 o'clock. And so I called her, and she's kind of like, I don't know if she remembers it, but I'm trying to recall it exactly. She was kind of like, "Are you okay?" It's like, "Why? What did you perceive?" And she's like, "You looked very weird, like you needed to get out, and it was not like you." you know. And I said, "Well, because I was feeling this feeling, I don't know if it was something was about to happen or a contact, and I didn't want to be around you whenever this was happening." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And so she just let it go. But it is really strange to, because again, you're dealing with your. A lot of people look at the ego as something in your way, something negative. But the ego is basically your local body consciousness that is very, very limited, but it's literally there to just for the body and to protect it. Right. And a lot of times, we rely on the ego too much because it feels good. We know it won't let us down. It won't do us harm because it has the self-interest in mind. But a lot of times when things are happening outside of its scope, it just creates these unnecessary walls, that, for example, in trying to make contact, feeling different energies that are okay, but it thinks it's a threat, and all these other things, so there's also a lot of that negotiating going on to just let the ego say, hey, it's okay, just you will be fine, it will be, everything will be all right, just allow whatever this needs to happen, and then you will see for yourself. And that negotiation is usually that key, because it's also that mindset of constantly feeling like you need some kind of protection that holds you back when it comes to just even simple meditation, just to close your eyes and see what might come, imagery, with imagery, or maybe a tone or a voice or whatever. Anyway, I'm sorry, Paul, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. I might try different things. I'm just
Right,
trying to use a little discernment with spiritual stuff.
right.
You had a gentleman a couple interviews ago. You interviewed, and I think he was talking about something stuck on his neck. He got into ayahuasca, and then he had a bunch of weird stuff stick around. And I forget who that guy was, but
Was it Rick? Was it an
uh,
interview with, which was it about the psychedelic show?
I'll have to go back. It was a few
Okay.
months
All right,
ago,
that's
but
fine.
that's sometimes I don't know, tricksters or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
Veil stand for certain people. They kind of maybe you're the only one that can sense them, and they try to get your attention, and they stick around.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well,
But
well, when it comes to a lot of our lives, we obviously we don't remember that we made certain agreements. We don't remember certain things about why we're doing why we are doing what. Geez, I know my English is definitely gonna iron itself out before the end of the show. Why we are doing what we're doing while we're here, and so we were talking about just earlier, and I didn't have much time to comment on it. And again, just you know me well enough. We met in person at the conference, and so I hope you don't take this the wrong way. This is just literally my take on this. You could literally leave it, or take it, whatever you want to do with it. But don't. I
I'm
don't
here
want
to
it to
learn
sound
and
like
share.
right. I don't. I just don't want it to sound like I'm preaching to you. But what I wanted to say is that. A lot of experiences. I mean, literally things like walk-ins, attaching spirit, all these different things that we had in mind. That we talk about is different things that we agreed to happen in this life that seem different or outside of us. When you understand that this whole universe is just the universe and it's literally interacting with itself, you can literally say that everything that's out there is another version of you. That you are interacting with something else that's you, part of you, that's now, doing the part that you agreed before you came here. So whether we're talking about ghosts, walk-ins, especially walk-ins, some people say, oh, this person used to be, this way, and they were drinking a lot, and they were having all these issues or whatever, and then one day they just entirely changed, like it's a brand new person. And so our mind understanding this is that there's one person that was there before, now there's a new person here. That means someone else, another soul or something, must have entered that body. Well, you have to understand the space, quite literally, physically and metaphorically, is only occupied by you. There's nothing else that can take that particular space, away from you, because everything in the universe is already done. It's already worked out in the way it needs to work out. So every other human being or every being or spirit that's already out there, they have their own particular vibration or space that nothing else can take over, but only their presence. And so when you see somebody, this, for example, that we would consider a walk-in, it's literally the same soul now doing a 180 and deciding to take a different path than what it was originally set out. And so then, of course, to us, it's like an entirely different person, but it's still the same soul, just having an entirely different experience, you know? And so there's, in my experience and what I was able to learn out there, it's not anything nefarious happening, or spirit or devil or demons are doing all these different things. It's just literally other aspects of the universe that we have not come to fully understand, to where if you start going down that direction, you will see the truth and you'll understand it, and then you'll interact with it differently, you know. So instead of like having to think of not other spirits, you're just gonna know it's another vibration, you know, another part of the universe that's now interacting with you. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I agree with you. This is an interesting world.
You don't
with
have
a lot
to.
of
You don't have to.
things. I don't know. I've arrived at that conclusion a long time ago. I tried to stop figuring out any of these
Right.
things or trying to rationalize it. But before I let you go, I have a question. Since you were talking about Akashic records,
Sure.
this is something I've heard brought up, but I can't wrap my head around. Do you have any, or maybe have you heard of anybody experiencing the Akashic records, say through astral projection, that kind of stuff, without, is it something people can access without having to die?
Well, no, of
Or I don't
course.
know
I
if
mean,
I review the Akashic records or if there's something else, but every once in a while I some interesting YouTuber or some anonymous comment on Reddit, people claiming they can access their Akashic records and get information
right.
from that.
Well,
Yep.
because you're connected to everything, like we're all like this one big brain that has all these webs that everything is connected, you know, all together at one time. The way you kind of maneuver that is quite simply through thought. So when you think of something, it has a specific vibration, you know, and when you're trying to acquire something or look for something, alike attracts alike. I don't know if you heard that before. So that vibration of that thing or whatever it is that you're wanting to find out will then you'll be drawn to it automatically. It doesn't, you know, it's really not that difficult. The problem is that people always think has to be some kind of outer worldly experience, that it has to be these vivid images and all this other stuff. Now, that's not saying that that can't happen, but when it comes to the initially starting out for someone who has never had that experience before, what I would recommend is in the process of meditating, right? Just go through maybe 15 minutes, half an hour. I don't want to put a limit on, because I know the second I say this, people are going to now expect, okay, I have to go through this process. I'm just saying something that I was trying, what helped me very much. It would take me like 15 to half an hour, to basically 15 minutes to half an hour to silence my mind. To once I sit down and close my eyes, I would be going through the day. What did I say to this guy? Why did this happen? Oh, did I buy milk? Did I go, you know, do this and all that? Basically, day-to-day stuff. Just it's like nagging on you. The key is to just catch yourself doing it. Stop and try to blank out. Now you start the conversation back up, and then you stop and you try to blank out. And so you basically getting to this point to where you're going, you just basically pushing it down as much as you can, to where finally you're done having that conversation with yourself, and now you can just allow your mind to blank. And then when that happens, you know, not saying that you should have any expectations, because your mind starts kicking in saying, well, why is nothing happening? Well, you know, the mind, again, the ego and the mind, it's a lot of constant negotiations. Just literally try to blank out and just pay close attention to whatever comes to you, like whether it's an emotion, an image, and all these other things. At that time, then it's okay to say, okay, this image appeared. Maybe write it down, or maybe just keep your eyes closed and observe it, but then keep going. And so the next thing you know, you basically will learn through these random images that seemingly have nothing to do with what you're really looking for. When you write them down or reflect back on it, you will see a connection, that there was a path there was a piece of information that had come back to you in the form of images. And so you start there, and the more and more you keep going, now these images would then turn into moving pictures, more like, like you're experiencing a scene, and the more you keep going, and make these little baby steps, you will finally, understand more to where now it will be an emotional feeling that will come back and it'll translate into words. That image now will make sense. And so you basically are working your way up to get to this point to where quieting your mind, blank out, and then just pay attention to what's coming to you and allow it to come to you however it comes without any judgment. And that's basically how, quote unquote, you access this Akashic record, which in reality, it's just literally another reality, another universe where what you're looking for is already a truth. It's already happened, and you're just basically gaining from that knowledge. Instead of having to, I guess, to sit, for lack of a better word, instead of having to reinvent the wheel here, you just go and access the universe where this thing that you're trying to find out about is already there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll try that. And I meditate a lot and get visuals. Right. I've heard it described as a library or something, but I don't know. Maybe
right.
They're just,
well, because it depends about the reason why it was that is that some people's mindsets, everyone just has a different approach to. It's not. I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just some people's mindset is that. They don't understand it, or their subconscious, on their evolutionary path, they haven't gotten there to really think about it, that everything is here and now. So the only way they understand that is by creating a library of information, right? Because that's how you can best understand it. It's a best analogy. Instead of trying to understand that everything is here and now, you just have to access it. It's a lot easier for people to just think of it as a library where you go and you pick up a book and you can actually read whatever you need to read and find out. A lot of things. So, for example, during Dolores Cannon's approach, right, while she was doing the hypnosis and eventually developed the work and wrote the books based on what she was doing. Initially, the only way she could get through people is that to quite literally have them. They would go so deep into the meditation, and she would talk to whatever was coming through, whoever she was interacting with, and the people that were basically this channel for her, they would not remember it at all. They would not remember what was talked about. They could listen to a tape and go, "Oh my God, was that me?" They would not believe that it was them. But what happened then, as she was saying, as the years progressed, and I don't know if it had anything to do with this bigger picture, but somewhere around 2012, her client list and the way that people were looking at things, like they would remember. So she would go through the process with them, and they would be conscious and aware. And so when they got out of it, they would say, "Oh, wow, that was crazy. I was getting pictures. I was getting this." But a shift has happened, to where now they don't, people that are coming forth have now learned to accept things more, so their mind doesn't have to blank out to protect them in so many words to say. They can just basically just be present while this process is happening, and they come out of it remembering everything, And so that's also in reference to this Akashic record. It's a progression, because just real quick before I let you go, and I'm sorry if I'm taking this too long. If you got to go, let me know now.
No, it's all good.
Okay. When you look at film, for example, initially the collective mindset of all of us as humans living on this planet, the subconscious mind, as Freud called it often, it could only understand time in quite only linear ways. So our initial peak level of invention, that we could, invent was film using tape. That then time, you think of it as having to fast forward or go backwards, but you had to stay on that tape, so to say, in order to watch a film. We could only see it that way. We could only understand it as rigid. And so it could, the mind couldn't understand, anything else besides that. So when our collective consciousness develops into something bigger, the next thing you know, now came, quote unquote, a new invention, but then we call it DVDs. So now all of a sudden time is not the same anymore. Now you can skip forward, you can watch the end immediately, or you can watch in the middle or anywhere in between, and you can skip around. And the best part is you don't have to rewind again. So there was kind of a physical representation of what our collective consciousness was doing and evolving. And so we will be doing that throughout all these different times, because then a new invention would happen and we're like, oh, we're so smart, we developed this. But all that really says is that, okay, we are now ready for the next step. Our mind, our collective consciousness has, developed enough to now go to the next step, to the next dimension, to the next mind-blowing thing that we could not think of before. So anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you about that.
This week, I'm going to try to access it, and I'm going to come back to this group with the winning lotto numbers. For
there you go. Hey, well, next week, Wednesday, is when I'm planning to have this again. So thank you very much for just joining in. I appreciate it, because usually, I like a bit more interaction, or have people have something to watch and hear somebody else instead of me just blabbling on.
It's good to have you back. Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks, Paulie. I appreciate it. Okay. So let me go back to the chat here real quick. So Razor, I'm sorry. Hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. Sonia, hi. How are you? Yeah, I know you wrote to me on different videos in the chats and wondering where I was, so I appreciate you for asking. And Labels did as well, so I appreciate all of those that were asking. I'm just really sorry that I was basically absent for so long. Brian, welcome. Let's see if there's any specific question, because you can submit your questions on here if you have any, or just make a statement. Gigi, how are you? Good to see you as well. Obviously, I would rather not read a long story in the chat. If you can just summon it down to whatever it is that you would like to share with me, and I can just read it out loud if you like. But we're not necessarily limited to just open lines. Of course, I prefer open lines because I would like to talk to you. Let me get a sip of water. I have to always remember, ever since I opened up the podcast as well, to keep people that are listening verbally engaged, because sometimes if I show pictures or try to show something, it's I have to remember to kind of go back and describe it for them. Yep, I had a cough, and that lasted for well over a month and a half, and it was getting worse and worse. And I just finally kicked it by just going on this overdrive of just vitamin C, and I just 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 milligrams. Going at it like crazy. I'm just like, whatever this is, I'm gonna front load and have it kick whatever was bothering me. And sure enough, within at least 3 days of that, it just cleared up finally. And I'm glad I just don't have to deal with that, because I don't know, everyone knows it's a common thing. It sucks to be sick. All right, is there any other questions, or that you guys might have, any statements you want to make or anything like that before I guess I let you all go, because I'm not quite sure what else you would like to talk about or would want me to maybe cover, because I'd love to keep the open lines going, but it only works when all of you can participate too. I'm glad some of you are also chatting between each other in the chat, so that's always good. All those different interactions. Yeah, because last time it's been so long that I actually was not aware of how to sign myself out. How to finish the stream, because it's been so long. Ekankar, or however you pronounce it, said not able to get on Telegram on my Mac. I'm sorry about that. Do you have also an iPhone or a Samsung? Because I know you can try to install it on um, your phone and then talk to me that way. Hi, Christy. Christy says, "What do you think of those UFO and Chinese spy balloon stories that came up last week?" Um, I literally did a video. I don't have it ready here, but let's see if I can. I did a video last week, and oh my goodness, I can't even remember what I said. It should be the latest video on my channel. There it is. It's called the problem with recent government UFO shootdowns, and it was also open lines. And so I went through my thoughts and details, but I can paraphrase here now too. When this first happened, I immediately, like, people were texting me, and I was just like, what in the world is happening out there? Because I was just quite literally spending time with my family. And so I was paying attention to what some of you were posting on Telegram, just to see what else is happening. And so I posted a video of I think one of the video of something. It was like a half-hour long video of what was happening, a sequence of events, what was happening first, what got shot down, and so on. My first thought was, I'm not saying that I have somehow a red phone directly to aliens, or that they owe me anything to inform me, hey, we're coming. I'm nobody special. I just, whatever experiences I had was things that I experienced because I was wanting to find out for myself, but it does, I'm just a normal, everyday person like everyone else. So there's nothing that I would expect from them. But at least I thought the experiences when you've had them, and these, I call them the spidey senses, whenever this stuff occurs, it was just dead, And so my other reaction was, I called Donna Lynn. I called some of my other friends that were contactees. And so, but Donna Lynn was one of the first ones I was able to get a hold of. And I said, hey, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this? Like, I don't know about you, but my spidey sense is a bit dead as a doornail. And she just laughed, like, mine too, because there's just absolutely nothing. I said, well, I don't know if this is some kind of way that we can judge this, but, not knowing that you and me and some others, just literally nothing happening. This is just another, government shenanigans. And so I basically didn't left it at that. And sure enough, because what did they do? They said there's something over the skies, but they only told you, right? Because at least the things that I tried to record and wasn't able to hopefully be able to show as proof of some of my experiences, unfortunately, I don't have. But for them laying out the story and the manpower that the government has, I would have thought that, okay, they said there's something over this airspace. They're shutting this down. Now they're shooting it down. Now let's go try to recover the wreckage. And then soon after, they're like, there's no debris of anything that we shot down. And so basically, when you really stop and think, all you were told is a story, quite literally a story, with fancy graphics and the mainstream media supporting, whatever it is that they're telling you to keep your attention to it. So my initial reaction at that time was not alien, and again, maybe if it was alien, I was never informed, so that was kind of how I was judging the situation. But I'm hoping that they're actually, when you look at the first Chinese balloon that they had come across, and then it was kind of going through the United States and then eventually be shot down, that to me looks like a classic, as Javik I calls it, problem, reaction, solution. It's basically they let this balloon fly around, not touching it, talking about it, getting people all riled up about this, that, oh my God, it could be something bad. What if it's an EMP? What if it's this? So people get the reaction and they get all riled up, and then finally they shoot it down. But, we're all still, well, not me, but those that still believe in the mainstream media, they're like left, in this emotional state, like, oh my God, what just happened? Why didn't you react to this sooner? And then the next thing you know, they have all these, balloons to be shooting down or whatever. They chose to use the unidentified flying objects. And so I love how it's not UAPs anymore. They went right back to UFOs. And so they were making sure to stick to that phrases of, well, it was unidentified. We can't say that it was a balloon. We can't say that it wasn't a balloon. And so anyway, so that gets people riled up even more. And so my initial thought was to maybe then escalate something with China more, and so I just let it let it cool down for a couple of days. After that, then I did the show, and then of course they came out that they couldn't recover anything. So anyway, that's kind of my thought. I'm not necessarily saying that some of you haven't had those exact same thoughts, because a lot of times I find when I speak to people that come to watch this channel, I'm preaching to the choir. So a lot of you are kind of on the same mindset as I am. I just know, as I was saying then, the government has never told the truth. They've always lied about so many things, and especially when it comes to UFOs, I'm not, I'm not going to sit there and go like, oh, but now you're going to tell me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It's like, that's really, hard pill to swallow. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so Christy Selke, thanks. Haven't been on your channel in a while. Glad you are back. Well, glad I can catch you being back. Yep. Yeah, no, so, yeah, because I don't want to have each show have to repeat the same thing that I've repeated in previous videos. I'm grateful if you do have the time just to rewatch some of those, and it'll give you, just the other perspectives that I shared during that time. But that this way each show I'm hoping to cover something new, talk about something new, to where, we keep moving on with the education, and information, instead of having to kind of go back in circles to regurgitate just to get everyone else caught up. Because to get to the bottom of a lot of things, I think you know this by now, you're going to have to do a lot of homework, a lot of watching. I used to always say, for every 1 minute of news, I have to do 3 hours of research to find the truth, and that was not a joke. It's I'm not exaggerating that, because whatever they do to take a snippet and cover something and just move on to something else, you have to then go back, and if they took somebody's phrase or somebody saying something, I had to go back and rewatch the whole thing just to see whether or not they took that out of context. And so by watching the whole thing, I know exactly what was said. And so then when I see something happening with somebody talking about it, I know whether or not they're spinning it, whether they're taking it out of context or doing God knows whatever else with it. But at least it doesn't make you part of the sheep, the sheep that just kind of go, oh, okay, whatever you say, we go along with that. Eckhart, Card, thank you. You said you have a nice voice. I've heard that so many times. I don't know. I never really listened to myself or am in love with my voice, but there were several times just whenever I would talk to people or have other discussions, they would mention that very same thing, and so I don't know what it is. But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, if there's anyone else that would like to join and raise their hand on Telegram to speak to me, please do that now so we can get going with conversations. Otherwise, I'll just see to cover some of your comments in chat, and then I would leave this be. Manda, welcome. Thanks for being here. Yeah, last week I was even confused. I couldn't even figure out where to go back to read some of the chats, because this thing was off and I couldn't find it on the screen. It was a circus. Ruben, welcome. Ruben says, "Hi, very glad you are back." Oh, thank you very much for using the three asterisks. That really helps me. It pops out at me, and I know it's a question for me instead of just a regular chat. I made a mistake of not mentioning it earlier, but thanks for doing that. You remembered from watching last time. So Ruben says, "Hi, very glad to see you back. Do you still work with Ozark? Is there still trouble with Julia Cannon?" Well, I don't want to get into that detail. Uh, yeah, let's just. I just don't want to bring that to my show. It's no, Ozark is doing wonderful. I'm still with Ozark. Just leave the last person's name out of that, and everything is great. If you can catch my drift for my answer. But yeah. There's next week. I'm gonna have a video out there for as an advertisement for the Ozark Mountain UFO conference that's coming up in April 14th to 16th, and I always I'll give you a chance to be able to win 2 tickets. Last year there was one person won. I tried to contact them, and there was just absolutely no way to contact them. They didn't leave any information whatsoever. Then I was like, okay, so then the next one in line is the other person, also same thing. And so Paulie, who all of you have just heard, he was talking about wanting to go to a conference. I said, hey, submit or just go to this video, leave this comment, and you might have a chance to win. And honest to God, I wasn't fudging anything. I quite literally used my little online wheel, and it picked him. So I got to meet him last year, and he won 2 tickets for himself and his friend to come and see the conference, and also meet me and talk. So I don't know that we talked much because I'm usually very busy during that time, but I was very glad to be able to meet him. And so the conference will be happening. I'll drop that video next week, and so I'm hoping that a lot of you submit. And please do, in your about section on YouTube, please leave a email or some way for me to be able to contact you if you submit to want to be eligible to win the tickets. Andrew Cook says, "Can you see my comments?" Yes. I see this comment. I don't know what other comments you were leaving. And then Ruben said, "Okay, thank you, Edna. Your channel is so important now because of all the UFO sightings." Well, I was making the comment I made last time is that please keep in mind, like, this channel is not a news channel. It's not a, this is what's happening. You have to know right here, right now. I mean, obviously, by my absence shows you that it's not what I concentrate on. If there's something just for the sake of content to be able to talk to you about something, to cover it a little bit, I include maybe some news. But my main goal is to try to understand the concept of ufology as a whole. And so through the different interviews that I have done and will continue to do, and through shows like this, to just have more information or share my point of view through the experiences that I've had pretty much since I was a kid, to explain what I was able to gather from it, and to convey to you, to maybe, hopefully, that it might help you on your journey in some way. So Andrew, okay, I was going to say, Andrew, if you had a question, it says, "Have you heard of a EM drive?" I can't say I have. If you could write it out, what that exactly is. I'm sorry, I'm not very informed of when it comes to some kind of exotic technology. But speaking of technology, there was something that was pretty interesting. It was a while back, they were able to finally have, this is going to make me sound so dumb, but it was regarding fusion, that they were able to, for the very first time, basically get more energy out than the energy that was put in to create the fusion. And so they basically, whatever, it was like a 2 to 3 ratio to whatever they were doing, they got more energy back than was initially used to generate it. And so they were very excited about it. Now, they created that experiment on a very minuscule level, but it's basically the beginning, and hopefully in the right direction. I'm not sure that they're gonna then, once they fully develop it, give all of us the technology, because it would be pretty cool to have every single household or maybe a region or whatever that has their own fusion drive to create whatever energy is needed. But unfortunately, until we really become these enlightened human beings, I doubt that they're just gonna all of a sudden say, "Hey, let us give this to you for no cost and no charge, and you use it as you please." Okay, Andrew says if you Google searches, it's basically UFO. Okay, all right, I will look it up. It's always good to just stay informed about different things. So thank you for letting me know about that. So Ruben says again, can you please bring back Sherry Wild? I hope she's okay. I haven't heard any new information about her. I'm still waiting for her TV show movie she is producing. So so I know a few of you have written to me, and so I wanted to actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm in contact with Sherry, and we text and all these different things. I know she's not feeling well. And some people that are not fully aware that's already happening, they would then send me messages and urge me, very quickly to contact them, and oh my God, see what's happening. And so I'm sorry if I'm not responding to that, because I'm already in contact with her. So if there was something more important for her to have to say, she has her own YouTube channel, I believe, and also Telegram as well, where you can join it and see what she's posting and talking about. So whatever is going on in her life, she can tell you directly instead of me kind of being that middleman. I understand the reason for you contacting me, but if you have already reached out to her and she's not answering to you, it doesn't mean that it's something worse or something really bad. It just means that for whatever reason, she just hasn't gotten to your message, or I don't know if she ever will. That's up to her how she handles that. But please just, don't get too riled up about it, because when something, good or bad happens, she will inform you on her own, and you don't have to worry about that. But I do appreciate all of you that are just kind of wishing her well while she's going through what she's going through now. Because I think she was saying she got a little bit weaker, but she still posts regularly and tries to leave voice messages on her Telegram chat, so you actually hear her, and then she, instead of writing it out, you get to just listen to her, what she has to say, and whatever the latest is in her life. Okay, Andrew says the government have a patent for, okay, for the EM drive. Yeah, I will. Like I said, I will definitely check it out. All right. Well, thank you all of you that have joined me today. I don't deserve it, but I do appreciate it. I know I've abandoned you for a very long time, but you have logged in today to chat with me, and at least Paulie to talk to me over Telegram. So I guess well, let's just end it here today, and then next week Wednesday I'm gonna open up open lines again, hoping that you take advantage of it, because it's about you and your story as well. And so I'm hoping that you contact me or download Telegram, get it installed, and then we can interact. But yeah, thank you all again. I'm also working on some interviews. That's usually a longer process, because some of the upcoming interviews that'll be happening, they will be pre-recorded just because of different time zones and other things. But I have, like I said, I have a list of people that will definitely be coming back to do live shows, which means not only do you get to listen to them, but if you join on Telegram or comment, because I always ask every person I interview for them to actually answer some questions that you guys might have. I always encourage them to do that. So if it's somebody you really like or really wanted to talk to them, that would be your opportunity to just get on Telegram, raise your hand. When the time comes, you can then directly ask them a question and get hopefully a direct answer from them, whoever the guest might be. Or I will read a comment out loud. I'll go basically back and forth. Telegram, when there's a hands up there, or if somebody leaves a comment or for a direct question, then I will read it out loud. Okay, let me. Helio de Sousa, how are you? I want to take this question real quick before we finish. It says, "Hi, mate. Glad you're back. Do you have any information about the timeline switch after alien contact or abduction?" I'm not exactly sure to what you are referring to. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe next time when we get back, if you could elaborate more, I'd appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't give you more answers on that. All right. Well, thank you all on Telegram that have been listening and those that have actually come in to talk. I appreciate all of you watching. So, again, I'm hoping to be back every Wednesday for open lines. I'll try to put a notice out for upcoming live interviews so that you can have that on the lookout and then join whenever it's the time. But other than that, this is all I have. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.